sport has the power to change the world.
Well, the Laureus Awards have come and gone in memorable fashion. This year, the snow added to the special event, already poignant thanks to the incredible sporting narratives being recognized on the stage of the Salle des Trois. You're listening to the Power of Sport podcast with me, Jean Smyth. And firstly, a big thanks to you for downloading this episode and for subscribing to the series. I thoroughly appreciate your support. Releasing soon after this, where we'll hear from three very different guests. Be sure to look out for our Power of Sport Laureus World Sports Awards Special Edition. Expect to be taken to the heart of the event as I speak to some of sport's biggest names. It's simply not to be missed. If you haven't already, remember to follow Laureus South Africa on Facebook or Twitter. That's how you'll know our latest edition is available. As sports star after sports star, prominent business people, actors and actresses, and royalty floated down the red carpet ahead of the Laureus Awards, a familiar face caught the Power of Sport team. And we were surprised too, because in 2017, Toulon's training ran late, and so Ambassador Bryan Habana made one of his most impressive surges down the touchline yet, sprinting down the blood-red carpet and swan diving into his seat as host Hugh Grant started his opening link. Well, this year, Brian and his lovely wife Janine beat the snow and the traffic with time to spare, and so we're delighted to stop and catch up. We recently heard from the Springbok record breaker about the role his foundation is playing, both abroad and in South Africa. So now it was time to change direction and ask, what of his own playing future? This is what he told me.
No, I haven't made any decisions on my future at the moment, John. Reason being is obviously I've just got back on the park training-wise 2 months ago, and Chris Ashton's scoring tries plenty in that Toulon jersey, and Joshua Tuisava on the other wings, making it rather difficult to actually get into the side. So if I don't play too much rugby, going on, there might be a couple of months left in me, somewhere with a flag that's white with a red dot, possibly. But just looking at options at the moment, obviously, getting along. We'll be 35 in June, but with a World Cup in Japan in 2019 and possible opportunities of networking there post rugby, it's a lot to think about. We've got number 2 on the way.
I was going to say congratulations.
In just over a month's time. So. Just making a few decisions. Obviously, rugby's given me so much. So, we saw Jamie Heaslip, who sort of started his career at the same time as I did, and a lot of guys in the last year or two that are hanging up the boots. Tommy Bowe and one can go through quite a few. So, I think trying to make the right decisions. I think both on a personal level, for myself and my family is going to be really important, and sort of being able to reflect on what has happened over the last 15 years, but also looking forward to what is to come. So, haven't 100% made a decision at this present moment in time, but could possibly be the end.
Well, one of the great thrills of the awards is taking in the video packages that not only showcase individual stories, but also another incredible sporting year. Such is the amount of sport available that remembering results from last week become a challenge, let alone those from almost a year ago. And so the South African link to all that Laureus touches once again shines through, as one of the heroes of compiling those is production house T and W. I sat down with founder Gareth Whittaker at Nice Airport over a cup of coffee to find out more about the company that the sporting world deserves to know more about.
T and W, we're a storytelling company. We believe that stories have great power, and we're on a mission to sort of bring that power of stories to brands and teams and businesses around the world. We've been alive for 10 years. I started the company, and we started our life doing work for Supersport, making TV promos for sporting events. I'm really proud to say we still do that. Our oldest client, certainly one of our best clients. And in making TV promos, we learned really good lessons about storytelling and came to see this incredible power that stories have. I love sport. A lot of the people in our business love sport. So I think we naturally gravitate towards sports companies, sports clients, sports people. It certainly isn't everything that we do, but it's a big part of our business and our life.
Let's pause there. You love sports. You're in pretty good shape. I know you pounded the streets of Monaco with your running shoes on. I know you a fairly decent golfer as well.
Geez, that is a proper sport to call me a decent golfer. I'm comfortably the worst 12 handicap in South Africa.
Okay, that's not too bad. You started the company 10 years ago. Within 3 years of doing that, you got involved with the Laureus Foundation or with the awards certainly, in terms of starting to put together packages for them. And I've known you guys probably for the last couple of years, and we know that the Laureus Foundation intrinsically has very deep heartstrings in South Africa. The words of Madiba, Morne du Plessis, founding members, Mr. Rupert, of course, who was so heavily involved in putting it together. And one story that perhaps isn't celebrated or as well known is the fact that those images that go around the world made by yourself, and you'll be the first to say a very hardworking, talented, dedicated team.
And it's an incredible privilege to be able to work with such a great organisation, such a great business, and it's completely striking to think that the work that we have done will be seen by 200 odd million people. Small little business in the southern tip of Africa. It makes me flipping proud, and it's just amazing. Like we work really hard, and we try to be nice to people, and it's flipping cool that we get to then do this kind of work on such a global scale.
Tell me about the emotional attachment you and your colleagues have to the product. So I said it at the start, I was sitting with you guys watching a couple of the packages going out. One of your colleagues, Andy Crowley, very calm. That's obviously how he interacts with the content. Perhaps there's a bit of confidence. Don't worry, I know everything's going to be fine. Yourself, there was a pillar near the TV screen which you hid behind, I think, at one point. Talk us through the emotion as you watch this go out.
Yeah, listen, I think it's an interesting description. Krols is far calmer than I am. And I think it's important to note, this is his project. He's got a really talented team of people. He's run it from beginning to end. My job is to oversee the creative quality, but, this really is Andy's baby, and I think he's done a spectacular job on it. When I watch the work, my whole body moves because I so badly want it to be great. We've already done it. It's already finished, but I don't know. I so badly want all the hours and the sweat to for people to get joy from it, I guess.
And you mentioned 200 million people, but also the most immediacy, I suppose, in terms of people that see it, are those however many hundred guests there are in that hall, of which there's royalty, there's sporting royalty, there's prominent business people, and then there's also people from the Laureus projects around the world who are making or creating this real difference through the medium.
Yeah, and you can't help but get a little carried away. Sitting there, watching Fed, watch work that we had made about him and clap at the end of it you talk about royalty. There's no one more royal in the room than Roger Federer, and that's just cool, man.
Let's touch on him. He was incredibly gracious, as we know about him. I think he thanked Rafa Nadal. Basically, he dedicated his award to Rafa Nadal. At the press conference afterwards, how's this question? A journalist said to him, I'm going to paraphrase, but effectively, Roger, when I leave here tomorrow, I have to go home and tell my wife that you are not perfect. Please, can you tell us? Just give us one flaw, to which is a great question. As you would expect from a man. He said, I'm not the best dad always. I'm not the best husband always. I'm not sometimes the best tennis player. But like everybody, I try my best. And I think that he has this way of matching that perfection with the common man and woman in terms of that life isn't all perfect. And he's kind of, his EQ around that, I think, is quite good.
And he just gets better and better. His humility is what is completely staggering. I mean, it's not an original thought, but he really is the kind of sportsman that I would want my sons to watch. I remember watching an interview with him. So he won the Comeback of the Year award last night, and for me that comeback wasn't a comeback from injury, it was a comeback from 5 years without winning a Grand Slam title. So up until 2012 he won
15 or 16, something like that, yeah.
And then he had a 5-year stretch that he didn't win. And during that stretch there was a lot of talk about he should retire and go out on the top. And a journalist asked him, he said, listen, why don't you just go out on the top? And his response blew me away. I'll paraphrase it, but it's close enough. He said, because I love playing tennis. I love playing tennis, and I might not be number 1 in the world, and I might be number 7 or 8 or 9 or 10, but I love playing tennis, and for as long as I can play tennis, I'm going to play tennis. I mean, that he then goes back to number 1 is remarkable, and that he wins more Grand Slams than anyone else is amazing. But what a cool thing to teach your kids, to teach just everyday people. Just do the shit you love. I'm allowed to swear.
On that then, you talk about perfection. I know that's obviously something that resonates deeply with you. I'm sure that feeds back into your business because that's the product we see. And you've got some exciting projects in that coming up. I know you guys have always got things happening in the background. How excited are you in terms of what the rest of 2018 and beyond holds for T and W?
Properly pumped. In fact, our Wi-Fi password at our office, so our office is in Parkhurst, it's on 4th Avenue, and we've got a magnificent office officer, so anyone who's listening is very welcome to pop in. We've got really good coffee. Our Wi-Fi password, for those of you who are hanging out downstairs, is our best year yet. It was that last year, and it'll probably be that next year. But we've got amazing stuff lined up. We're going to be starting work with Team Dimension Data, who have an absolutely remarkable story, and we look forward to being a part of telling that. We continue our work with the Proteas. We've got a team of guys that travel around the world sort of doing behind the scenes and telling their story. So you said 2018, it's 2019, but cannot wait to tell the story of us winning our first 50 over World Cup. That, I think, for me is going to be the highlight of my working career. The journey that we've been through with them pre-2015, the devastation of 2015, but getting to know the people and the players and getting to know Faf and understand what he's trying to achieve, telling the story of them winning the World Cup in 2019.
Without perhaps revealing too much, who perhaps is the sportsman who the public persona or image of that person, from you getting to know them, is so not like what we think of them or know about them?
What does strike me, certainly with the Proteas guys that we've worked with and have got to know, if South Africa can understand how much it means to these oaks, just representing their country, being Proteas, I'm completely struck by how much it means. They're good. These are good human beings. It's not a spicy answer as you're hoping for.
Well, I can't wait to see what T and W's World Cup offering brings, and I wonder who you might be tipping for that title. I asked that exact question to the former France great Marcel Desailly as well as Ruud Gullit. Hear from them in our Sports Awards special. Another recent guest on this podcast has been Desiree Ellis, then interim head coach of Banyana Banyana. You'll recall I sat down with her to find out more about the steps she'd taken to build on the legacy left behind from Vera Paauw and what her goals were for the future. Well, we're delighted to note that she's now been appointed on a full-time basis by SAFA, and we wish her well for the future. The awards event in Monaco offered me the opportunity to sit down with USA great Hope Solo to hear her insights on Banyana, but even more importantly, the stand that she's taken on equality in the game. A deeply passionate person who excelled on the sport's highest stage with a clear message to the world on what needs to change. Vera Paauw, who's taken over at Houston Dash, you were telling me just before we started recording that you know a little bit about her story. She made a huge impact on South African football, on Banyana Banyana, which is the team there, and the new coach who was her assistant is actually an ambassador for Laureus in South Africa, Desiree Ellis. Just tell us and give our listeners a little bit of sense of what you know of Vera and what kind of impact she made.
I had the opportunity to listen to her speak. I had a great deal of respect for her for a long time in the women's game. She's known to be one of the best coaches around, quite a leader. She knows how to bring people together, teams together. She's a tough coach, however. She's all about the tactics of the game. Very, very intelligent woman in the game of football, so she's a very important person to have in the women's game. And then to see her take on a challenge to leave the Netherlands and to move to South Africa and to really build the team there in South Africa and help the young women in South Africa field a team at the World Cup and be successful. I mean, they were competitive, they were a great team, and she told us about the struggles of bringing all these women together who are from different tribes and really teaching them what it means to be a team. So her story is incredible, her story is very powerful, and now she's coaching in America, and she's going to bring some of her expertise to America.
So that's going to make a huge impact there, and hopefully some of that can filter back to South Africa as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you just educated me and told me that she brought over 3
I think they've just signed a third one, yeah. There's definitely 2, and then I think a third's on the way.
Well, that's pretty incredible because it can truly be life-changing for some of these young players to follow their dreams. And oftentimes as a woman footballer, we're not able to have direction. We're not able to kind of take the next step in following our dreams to be professional footballers because there's not professional leagues all over the world as there are with the men. So the fact that she's bringing over players from South Africa to participate in the Women's League in America is incredible. It's truly life-changing.
Perhaps I can pick up on that theme because obviously what you are so well known for other than your playing career is the voice that you've perhaps given to other women footballers who haven't been strong enough or in a position to stand up for themselves as you have. But I mean, that's obviously something that's deeply, deeply important to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, you always have to start somewhere, even with men's football. It started from the very grassroots level, and it became this multi-billion-dollar industry. And that's because FIFA got involved, and they started to grow it throughout the world. It's the same with women's football. You have to start somewhere. But if we don't continue to push FIFA to put more money into the women's game, if we don't continue to push each individual federation, whether it's in South Africa, whether it's in the Philippines, whether it's in South America, then we as women will not have equal opportunity. And so I will continue to fight for equal opportunity for women worldwide. We need more women in leadership roles. We need women who really use their voice, and we we need women who are opinionated. We don't just want any women to be in administrative roles. We want women who can truly kind of go against the grain, who can push back a little bit, because the only way to build is by making people feel uncomfortable. If everything's comfortable, then we're not really having any movement in any particular direction. So I do believe it's our responsibility to make people feel uncomfortable in order to change things for the better.
Has your stand or viewpoint caused any kind of you being ostracized in any way, shape or form that you might have felt, or sidelined perhaps?
Well, of course. I think when you're fighting and you're making people feel uncomfortable and you're going against the grain, oftentimes there can be backlashes for that. But in time, people will look back and realize that I was always on the right side of history. But in that particular moment, it can be very difficult. It can be very difficult to have an opinion and to illustrate it and to vocalize that opinion can be very difficult. But I always say silence will not change the world. And oftentimes I believe that it's oftentimes a voice that's not the most popular that will change the world for the better.
Well, that's a wrap then for this episode, but there's a huge amount to come from my time spent in Monaco with some big names, including a football World Cup prediction or two. Send us yours via Twitter and Facebook. Thanks as always for your support. Please subscribe to the series and share this among your friends. It's been a pleasure to be in your company. From myself, Smyth, and the team, cheers.